Good morning, everyone from Brussels. I'm very pleased to warmly welcome you to today's EU-Taiwan Supply Chain Forum. I would like first to thank you to the Chinese International Economic Cooperation Association Taiwan and the European Institute for Asian Studies for co-hosting today's event with the Taipei representative office in the EU and Belgium. This forum aims to show Taiwan's strong commitment to strengthen Taiwan-EU cooperation and to encourage Taiwanese companies to invest in the EU, but also vice versa, European companies to invest in Taiwan. We have at the beginning the honor to be welcomed by President Tsai in a video message, so I would like to ask our colleagues from the EAS to play the video.
Vice Chair of the European Parliament Taiwan Friendship Group, Audrey Kovacha, Minister of Foreign Affairs Joseph Wu, Minister of Economic Affairs Wang Mei-hua, distinguished speakers, and everyone across the globe taking part online. Good afternoon and good morning to our friends in Europe. It is a pleasure to address this forum and speak about the exciting prospects for our economic cooperation. Taiwan and the EU are key trading partners, and the EU is Taiwan's biggest source of foreign direct investment. This partnership is built on our shared belief in democracy, freedom, and rule of law. Taiwan's respect for intellectual property, our effective pandemic response, and our trade expertise continue to guide our work with the EU to develop more robust supply chains. Emerging global challenges have highlighted the need for supply chain resilience. With our proven track record, Taiwan is ready to expand bilateral investment and work with our partners to come back stronger from the pandemic. The EU has put green energy and the digital economy at the center of its economic recovery plans. We in Taiwan are also focused on developing green energy and spurring technological innovation. Our government has named next generation electronics, renewable energy, and biotechnology among our core strategic industries. And we have nurtured dynamic industrial clusters for domestic and foreign firms to collaborate and innovate more effectively. I understand the EU's trade policy is now focused on Asia-Pacific region, and I want to thank our friends in the European Parliament and EU business leaders for continuing to support Taiwan-EU connectivity. Events like this foster the connectivity between us. This connectivity spurs investment and creates jobs, laying a firm foundation for future growth. I hope your discussion today paved the way for more resilient, diversified, and reliable supply chains that benefit companies in Taiwan and EU. I wish you all a successful forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these inspiring and positive words from President Tsai. Now, I would like to give the floor for welcoming also to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Joseph Wu, for his opening remarks. Mr. Wu, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dr. Andrei Kovachev, Vice Chair of the European Parliament Taiwan Friendship Group, Minister Wang Mei-hua, Ambassador Tsai Ming-yan, partners from our International Economic Cooperation Association and the European Institute for Asian Studies, distinguished speakers, dear participants joining us online, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Taiwan. I'm delighted to attend today's EU-Taiwan Supply Chains Forum. Taiwan-EU trade and investment relations have never been stronger. In particular, so far this year, Taiwanese investments in the EU semiconductor industry have already exceeded 4.35 billion euros, the biggest amount ever for a single year. This is the best testament to the fact that Taiwan and the EU have become indispensable partners in strategic industries. COVID-19 has clearly highlighted the risk of over-reliance on a single country or supplier. In response, the EU has attached great importance to the concept of open strategic autonomy and supply chain security. Last December, 19 EU member states issued a joint statement or declaration to bolster Europe's electronic sector. Taiwan's key role in the ICT global supply chain has been widely recognized, and we stand ready to collaborate with the EU in its pursuit of open strategic autonomy, particularly in the fields of semiconductor, 5G networks, and biotechnology. I would like to thank Tsai, ECA, and EIS for co-hosting today's forum, along with our representative office in the EU and Belgium. I remember that supply chains cooperation has only been identified as a work priority around last September in the EU Investment Forum. 6 months later, key players in the field from our two sides are gathered here, ready to take a step forward. Exchange events like this help Taiwanese companies learn more about the EU's investment environment and the advantages they possess in the EU. And as the EU seeks to establish deeper connectivity with Asia, this government will continue to maintain close contact with our friends in Europe to help connect our business sectors. In closing, I would like to wish the forum great success. May the partnership between Taiwan and the EU continue to flourish in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu, for your very clear words, positive words on this forum. Now I'm happy and pleased to give the floor for welcoming remarks also to the Minister of Economic Affairs, Mr. Wang Mei-hua, to give her opening remarks. Mrs. Wang, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The honorable member of the Parliament, Director Andrei Kovachev, Minister Wu, Ambassador Tsai, all the distinguished guests, good morning and good afternoon. I would like to express my gratitude to the Taipei Representative Office in the EU, CIECA, and the EIS for organizing this forum. Taiwan and the EU are strong partners in trade and investment. The annual EU-Taiwan Industrial Policy Dialogue and the administrative arrangement on cluster cooperation lay very good foundation for strengthening industrial cooperation. Also, during this time, when the pandemic has undermined the global economic growth and shifted world supply chains, today's dialogue offer a very good platform for our business leader to spark idea on next steps onto shaping supply chain resilience and alliance. The EU and Taiwan have built a very complementary partnership over the years. While the European Union is superior in innovation, Taiwan possesses a very sound IPR ecosystem, advanced manufacturing, and complete manufacturing clusters. So since last year, Taiwan has showcased its resilience to the world in two instances. The very quick response to expand the production of the facial mask at the very start of the pandemic, and as well as the automotive chips during the recent chips shortage. So all indicate Taiwan's important role in the world supply chain and reliability. Masks and chips are all small in size, but they are indispensable. Likewise, Taiwan is geographically small, but it has proved its strength in helping the world. The EU industry are heading toward the twin transition of the climate neutrality and digital leadership. These are the areas that I see many opportunity for bilateral cooperation. For green transition, European companies have very strong foothold in Taiwan development of offshore wind power. The electric vehicles, the EV, are another key area for the EU's clean transport initiative. Taiwan, with its complete ICT industries and its presence in the supply chain of Tesla from 20 plus automotive component makers, can definitely play a very important role in EU EV development. Last month, the President von der Leyen, in her speech at the EU Industry Days, emphasized the importance of the assisting SME in utilizing the digital technology to speed up the production and reach new markets. In Taiwan, we have also prioritized the task of helping SME adopt innovative technology to enhance their competitiveness in the age of the digitalization. And Taiwan and the EU can further exchange their respective experience in this regard. One of the most valuable lessons of 2020 is that no country can stand alone. There is no better time for Taiwan and the EU to act collectively and support each other to sustain the momentum of economic development of both sides. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Minister Wang, for these words. And before we start with the panel discussion, I would like to inform you that on our online forum at the moment, we have almost 300 participants all over the world, from the Asian Pacific region, from Europe. Welcome to all of you. And in this pandemic time, we are now used to this online events, but such a high number of participants is really unusual. This is a proof that the cooperation is very important and of big interest from the both sides. Now we start with our main core work of today. This is the panel discussion, which represents 5 Taiwanese and 2 European leading multinational corporations. Now my task is very short, to present the 7 panelists of today, and then to start with the discussion, with the general discussion, then with specific questions to all participants from Taiwan and from EU. First of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Terry Tsai, Global Chief Marketing Officer and President of Taiwan SEMI. SEMI is the Global Semiconductor Association, connects more than 2,000 member companies at 1.3 million professionals worldwide. SEMI is headquartered in California and has offices in Taiwan, Germany, France, Korea, Japan, and Singapore. President Tsai has worked for SEMI for more than 10 years. He is in the association's first Asian Global Chief Marketing Officer since it was founded in 1970. Through his presentation today, we will be able to learn more about the cooperation opportunity for Taiwan and the EU in the semiconductor market. I would like now to introduce also the second panelist. This is Mr. John-Se Lee, Chairman, Taiwan Precision Medical Industry Association. Prior to Chairman Lee's current position, he served as the president of the Industrial Technology Research Institute of Taiwan. He is now the chairman of the Taiwan Precision Medicine Industry Association and also the honorary chairman of the Taiwan Biotech Industry Association. As a leading expert in this field, Mr. Li is very familiar with the potential for further cooperation between Taiwan and the EU in the biotech field. As next panelist, I'm pleased to present Mr. Dalip Sharma, President of Europe, Middle East and Africa region of Delta Electronics. Delta is, as I think everybody from us know, a world renewable leading power supply component company, which ranks #1 in the global telecommunication power supply market. It has been investing in Europe for more than 30 years and has at the moment 3 factories, 14 research centers, and more than 40 sales centers across the continent. It is still expanding its investment and market share in Europe. As next panelist for today, we have Mr. Xin-Yu Li, General Manager in Intelligent Manufacturing Data Service Division for Far-Friend Group. Far-Friend Group is the 3rd largest machine tool group in the world. It is comprised of roughly 100 companies in 15 countries, including 29 factories in Europe. General Manager Li is well experienced in smart manufacturing, digital transformation, and transnational cooperation. He will share Far-Friend Group's successful experience in investing in Europe. Next panelist of today is Mr. Jeffrey Shin KC, General Manager, Giant Europe Manufacturing Center. Giant, as I think all of us also know, is one of the 3 largest bicycle brands in the world. It has invested in Europe for more than 30 years and sells 400,000 bicycles annually. Giant has an operation, logistic and manufacturing center in the Netherlands. It has also invested 48 million euros to build a new plant in Hungary. We have invited General Manager Xin to join us today. He will share with us Giant's key elements of success in Europe. Next panelist of today, now from the European side, is Mr. Peter Lemmans, Director, Imec Innovation Service and General Manager, Taiwan. Imec, headquartered in Belgium, is world-famous non-profit research institution with a focus on research related to advanced semiconductor processing. It is a vital technical development partner of major wafer and semiconductor manufacturers in Taiwan. Imec is currently engaged in developing applications and technologies in areas including medical and healthcare, biomedicine, and green energy. And now, as last but not least, our second panelist from Europe, this is Mr. Karl Heilmans, Senior Business Development Manager, Jan de Nul. Jan de Nul Group is an internationally recognized maritime engineering contractor with an annual turnover of $2 billion, which operates in the area of sea cable technology, natural gas, petroleum pipelines, offshore wind farm, and other related maritime engineering projects. Since its first contract awarded by Taiwan in 1995, Jan de Nul Group has been working with Taiwan continuously on several important offshore wind farm and sea cable projects. That was a very short, I hope, and interesting presentation of our today's panelists. And I suggest we start with a common question first to our Taiwanese panelists and then to our European panelists. The questions which I would like to ask all the panelists from Taiwan is, at the moment, there are a lot of Taiwanese corporations interested in investing in Europe, which are currently attending the forum online. So could you please share your company's or institute's experience in investing in Europe, including your industrial deployment in Europe? Could you provide some recommendations for the companies planning to invest in Europe? In which area could Europe governments and the EU do more to assist Taiwanese and other foreign investors? Beside of your experience, could you please also share your perspective on the Taiwanese EU supply chain cooperation? I suggest now I give to each of you from the Taiwanese panelist side the floor for 6 minutes each. And as the order of the presentation was starting with Mr. Terry Tsai, I'm happy to give the floor to him to start with this more general question, how we can do better in the investment in Europe. Mr. Tsai, the floor is yours for around 6 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I just want to show the thanks for the invitation. SEMI is a global industry association. We specialize in the microelectronic and especially in the semiconductor industry. So we think lots of the opportunity for Taiwan and the EU, we can work together in the semiconductor supply chain, support each other. So today, not only I'm the presenter here, my counterpart, the SEMI Europe president, he also joined online to show our fully support for the collaboration and for this forum. I would like to share with you from some of the background of the semiconductor industry to begin with, because now the attendee a little bit diverse and some maybe from the parliament or from the government officer. So okay. So first of all, I just want to share with you that probably you know or you don't know that nowadays most of the technology innovation actually semiconductor is the key enabler. Without semiconductor, without everything, no matter we talk about the autonomous driving or like automation, smart manufacturing, or the smartphone or the other medical care. And for recently, digital transformation is really boost and accelerate the industry growth. So we see lots of the strong demand from the smartphone, high performance computing, automotive, and IoT. And recently, as we know that last year was the new year for the 5G. So driven by AI, 5G, and the high performance computing, the demand for the advanced manufacturing process is also increased, which turn bring up the revenue and the investment for the leading semiconductor manufacturer. I give you a very quick snapshot about the industry outlook. This is the data from IDC. We foresee from now to 2025, at least with the 5% compound growth rate in terms of the semiconductor revenue. Among all the industry segment, at this moment, computing and the wireless mobile phone still the large of the segment for the semiconductor industry to grow. But in the coming future, lots of the new industry segment like automotive, consumer, or industrial, they also very good potential to grow the semiconductor industry. So I can say that in a nutshell, semiconductor is the new oil. Small chip, but it make big impact. And every electronic device, include a car, are adding the activity to the product. So this will lead to the intense and the increasing demand from all the industry. Means that every industry is competing the priority of the supply line. So I think recently we talk about the car chip shortage, just one of the proven evidence for that. If we talk about the semiconductor supply chain, I can simply categorize in three major segments. One is we so-called the upstream, include the IC design, IP, EDA, and then the mainstream include the IDM, manufacturing, foundry, memory, equipment, and the wafer, material, or the mix. Downstream, we talk about the packaging and the test, and the leaflet and the substrate. Nowadays, the industry is truly globalization, but also very specialized region. So in terms of the geographic strengths, I can summary in this kind of perspective. US still very dominant in the chip design, electronic software tool like EDA, and also very strong in equipment, material, and the leading edge manufacturing. Europe, on the other hand, still very strong in the semiconductor material and the critical tools such as the EUV from ASML. And of course, we have lots of the application like smart mobility or smart maritime. And of course, we have the Imec here today. There's one of the good example. Europe, a very strong research institute. Japan, they are very strong in the equipment, in the chemistry, chemical, and the wafer. Korea, they are very strong in DRAM, in the memory. On the other hand, Taiwan is very strong in IC design, foundry, and OSAT. Nowadays, earlier I mentioned about, because this is truly globalization, and also at the same time, it's very vertical diverse globally. So supply chain resilience is even more important. So how to build a flexible and agile supply chain is very critical to navigate the changes and the staying resilient. This chart, I just want to show you about the complementary perspective from the Europe and Taiwan. Taiwan very strong in IC design, foundry, and OSAT. On the other hand, Europe is very strong in equipment, material, and some IDM. And from the history, we know that Europe very strong in the analog IC, telecom network, equipment, material, biotech, industrial, and the smart mobility. So here's a quick snapshot about the key player like Nokia, Siemens in telecom, smart manufacturing in Siemens, and the semiconductor with the Bosch, ST Micro, Infineon, NXP, equipment like ASML or Merck as a material. So still we can see like innovation R&D center like Imec, Leti, and Fraunhofer. On the other hand, Taiwan is very strong in the advanced manufacturing, packaging, and IC design. We rank in number 2 in the worldwide semiconductor total market value, second to the United States. So very quick summary about that. Taiwan is very strong in the leading technology, in the manufacturing, and the very comprehensive the ecosystem and the supply chain. At the same time, Taiwan is the largest semiconductor wafer capacity and the leading the spending in the manufacturing equipment and the material. So that gives you some brief introduction about what is the current status about the both sides from the Taiwan and the EU. Because of the time limitation, I will elaborate more in the second section. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Tsai. And now I'd like to give the floor to Mr. John-Se Lee for his comments on our general first question.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to share some of the status and development in biotechnology industry, also in precision medicine industry in Taiwan. The biotechnology industry is still in a developing stage. We do not have a huge pharmaceutical companies like in Europe, but we do have many of uprising potential biotechnology companies. As of the end of last year, we have 125 companies publicly listed that is in the category of biotechnology and pharmaceutical. And these are the companies that range from producing active pharmaceutical ingredients, generic drugs, and also many companies in new drug development and also in diagnostic and instruments and medical devices. So it's kind of very diversified, small but still very rapid growth. and particularly in medical device area, the growth is the fastest. I think it's mainly due to that it's more many of the components are easily accessible in Taiwan, including the display, the semiconductor IC chips, and many of the components for the medical devices. One of the company, Apex Medical, has been investing consistently in Europe. They have offices and manufacturing facilities in Germany, in France, UK, and Spain, and they are very good. The business is growing, and they, I think, are expanding their operation in EU, mainly in respiratory equipment and hospital bed. And of course, respiratory equipment is really very important, especially in COVID-19 pandemic treatment. In terms of our strengths, I think in manufacturing, as I mentioned, that medical device has many different area that has been collaborating with EU counterpart that range from more consumables, medical supplies, to a more and more into the instrumentations, and also the manufacturing of the pharmaceutical ingredients, and also the antibiotics also is growing. We have a few companies that devoted to so-called CDMO, contract development and manufacturing organizations, such as a company like Urgenics, that they are very good quality and effective manufacturing facilities for protein drugs and vaccine in Taiwan, and that could be a very important area of expanding into European area. Now, in the precision medicine area, we have companies that has been working on sequencing, providing sequencing services, but also developing sequencing technologies and instruments, and also companies that developing assays for cancer cancer diagnostics and cancer early screening of cancer, and also some of the genomic testing for helping to improve the successful rate of in vitro fertilization, which is very important to the couples that would like to have children but have difficulties in that area. So that's also a very interesting area. And other than sequencing, also qPCR and digital PCR and PCR arrays. There are a few companies that also are developing innovative instrument, including now recently have a digital PCR assay for helping to identify pandemic virus in higher precision. Also a company on microarray, and this is one of the very few companies that produce commercial microarrays for and also providing the services. That could all these precision medicine, diagnostic, and therapeutic company, they are looking for more opportunities to expand and collaborate in the EU market. And our member also include several of the EU big pharmas and they are also helping to bridge between Taiwan and EU business. So in terms of recommendation, from the point that biotechnology companies are still relatively young, and they are very aggressive in expanding into EU market. And once they have a business there, there will be more investment to follow. So I think it will be preferred that we start with a research or development or product development collaboration, then follow with a further investment. Okay, and then in terms of what government can do more, I think regulatory is a very important issue. So a CE mark, for example, is CE-IVD is been renewed, changed recently, and how can we run through the regulatory pathway? That is very important. How can we do it more efficiently to get regulatory approval? And also how can we connect to the communities and get to know more of the key opinion leaders and institutes? That would be a very important initiative to lead to further investment. And I think biotechnology collaboration in EU between Taiwan and EU is just at the beginning. And as many of the minister and other speakers have mentioned about the strengths in the information and semiconductor industry in Taiwan, and also the clinical trial quality of the clinical trial and the efficiency and cost effectiveness is also another very attractive factors. And on top of that, we also have a national health insurance, which creates and generates and accumulates a large number of real-time data, especially data with a longitudinal follow-up with all the patients. So those are the data very important for future development of biotechnology. And with that as a base, I think the collaboration is forthcoming, and we look forward to more collaboration in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Now would like to give the floor to Mr. Dalip Sharma from Delta Electronics.
Thank you, Andrei Kovachev, for your introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my fellow panelists and all the audience who's joining us from various parts of the world today. I'm happy to be here to share our experiences of having invested in Europe a long time ago. It's about 30 years already now. Delta was incepted in year 1971. So today, in this year, we are 2021. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary, and the Delta started to make its investment in Europe about 30 years ago. So this also goes to show that Europe has played a big role in Delta's global development over a long time now. The first office that Delta opened in Europe was in Switzerland in year 1987, as you can see on your screens. And since then, we have been growing and expanding our businesses and our footprint pan-Europe, and also with the headquarters in Europe into other regions such as Middle East and Africa. Our investment in Europe has really been a success story. Not only did we gain pan-European footprint, gain revenues and market shares in different business verticals, but most importantly, we gained local talent, local know-how, enhanced our technology capability through local R&D investments and cooperations with European universities, and gained a lot of experience into the local needs of the markets, and also developing products locally here. Not only did we invest into the local R&D and manufacturing, but over the years we were also investing in Europe in acquiring companies, like-minded companies that offered state-of-the-art technology. So we acquired LTech in the year 2015, followed by Biotech company into building solutions in year 2016, and so on and so forth. So today, as we stand, we are a formidable force in the European market in several business segments. For example, power electronics, we are serving our European customers in practically all these segments, whether it's automotive or industrial or medical, healthcare, etc. We are also investing heavily in supporting our customers in developing the EV charging infrastructure pan-Europe. We are active in the industrial automation area, solar and renewable solutions, building automation and mission critical infrastructure, where we help build the telecom networks and also the data center systems. LED lighting, and also displays and open networking. So we are engaged in several different fields, and probably the strength that we have in each of these areas would be not as strong if we were not here in Europe 30 years ago, and if we would not have invested into the local technology development and cooperation with local universities to augment our R&D centers in various parts of the world. If I take a look or take you through our industrial development in last 30 years, so today in the European region, we are about 2,900 employees with 14 R&D centers pan-Europe, 45 sales offices, 3 manufacturing plants, and we are headquartered in the Netherlands in Europe, and so on and so forth. If you talk about our capacities in terms of manufacturing, we have 2 plants in Slovakia and 1 plant in Vienna with about 1,100 plus employees and over 18,000 square meter production space. Our capacities, for example, for telecom power systems, we are building about 15,000 systems per month, and all our factories are accredited with all the necessary safety and other standards in compliance with the global market needs. If you talk about what we do in terms of manufacturing in Europe, we are, of course, we are manufacturing telecom power systems. We are manufacturing EV charging systems for the EV charging infrastructure deployed in Europe, and also in several other subsystem components. So our experience has been extremely good over the years, and we see a lot of growth in coming years as well. So we are still poised to continue investing in European region in several areas and benefit from what the market has to offer us, but also benefit from our cooperation with several European universities, and also gaining from the local talent that we have available here. If I were to make the suggestion to our European colleagues who are looking to invest in Europe, I would say, as we all know, Europe is constituted of several diverse cultures. So it is very important that when we are considering to make a decision in Europe, it has to be on a very long-term commitment basis, and it's extremely important to be global in Europe. When I say global, I mean while being a global company, we have to act locally, and this means that we should include our reliance on local talent and benefit from local technologies as an important factor in our planning. As we all know, Taiwan is extremely good in several technology areas, whether it's semiconductor, ICT electronics, manufacturing, biotechnology, and we have representatives from all the segments today in this forum. all these areas represents a big boost in a big opportunity in Europe, and the timing couldn't have been better than today. In the post-pandemic world, we are looking at building local supply chain networks, local manufacturing networks, and improve our supply chain security in this region. And this is a great opportunity for our like-minded companies in Europe to invest, like-minded companies in Taiwan to invest in Europe. From another area that I would also request you to consider is definitely the technology entry barriers in the European markets are higher compared to our Asian markets, several Asian markets, which are mostly cost-driven at times, and hence investing in Europe not only provides a big market opportunity, but it also provides an opportunity to invest in R&D, university cooperations, augment our current technologies, and innovate new technologies, and then not only benefit in Europe but also benefit worldwide. So I see a great future for this Taiwanese and European cooperation, and I wish you all the best. As far as expectation from European government to welcome businesses from Taiwan, I would say our experience is that European governments are always forthcoming for foreign direct investments from various regions. The systems are quite matured. If we are very open with our request, I think we have a due support here. So with that, I think that's all I have to share, and I'll be happy to take any questions later on at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma. Now I give the floor to Mr. Lin from Fair Friend Group.
Thanks, Andre. It's my honor to be here. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And of course, many thanks the EIAS and CIECA. Let me share our experience. Wait a moment. I share my presentation. Now, FFG is a very special company. In the past 20 years, through the M&A or the joint venture, we enlarge our business. Now we have 95 companies in the world. You will find in the Europe, we have a lot of companies. My boss, Jimmy Zhu, through the merger and acquisition to enlarge our European business. Now, in our three main business about the machine tool, machinery industry, and industrial equipment, and the third part is about the green energy. We think in the machine tools now, we have 37 brands and more than 50 factories in the world. And then we focus on the Europe. We have more than 16 brands and 19 factories in the Europe. We think now in the worldwide, we are in the machine tool ranking. Our marketing position is worldwide number 3. We still enlarge our business. We try to find out a one-stop shopping solution. Every customer when he visits us, he will find out what kind of machine tool if he needs. He can find the solution, the machine in our group. So you will find this triangle. In Taiwan, traditionally, we are the middle-end product. You will find the Leadwell, Feeler, Senko, EcoCar, Equita. But in the Europe, they always have the high-end machine tools. So in the past 20 years, Jimmy Zhu acquired many Europe companies, and we try to have the business not only for the merge the company, but also using the cooperation internal synergy to join together. When the customer try to find a turnkey solution, because in the future, this is not only sell the machine, but also they need the turnkey solution for the production line. Of course, we cooperate with a lot of partners, not for the machine tool, because when we merge those European companies, they not only provide the product, but also introduce their supply chain. They can introduce their partner or the automation partner, even like they can provide their channels. So we can enlarge the business. So in the Taiwan or in the Europe, we try to find out the win-win strategy. So in the first, we think Taiwan have the optimization capability, and Europe have the high-end technology and high-end turnkey solution. And Asia now for the manufacturing, or of course about the machinery, we have the biggest Asian market. Try to enlarge or synergy both together to create this kind of market. So we, in the past years, we already find out the internal cooperation and try to enlarge the ecosystem to invite much and more our partner join this ecosystem to provide the turnkey solution. So we think for the European and the Taiwan, in FFG point of view, we think this kind of strategy about for the Europe or even in the Taiwan, we try to enlarge the turnkey solution and try to find out another way, because traditional for the machinery company, they always sell machine. But we find in the Europe, they always sell the turnkey solution. So this kind of experience, we can using Taiwan ICT energy to make our solution more efficiency. So we think in the future, if we can get more detailed information or more communication or conversation way to know more companies or know more technologies, we can try to find out the other way or try to find out new way for the new solution for the customer. This is very brief introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lin. And now I'm honored to give the floor to Mr. Jeffrey Shin KC from Giant. You need to unmute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you for having me here to have the opportunity to share our experience in Europe. Giant has a long history in Europe. As early as in 1986, we have established our headquarters in Europe, based in the Netherlands, and successively we established different subsidiaries in each of the major markets, including Giant Benelux, Giant UK, Giant Germany, Giant France, Giant Poland, and the latest, if I remember correctly, it was in 2017, we have Giant Italy. And each subsidiary responsible for the development of the local market and the operations of the business unit. Besides that, we cooperate with our business partner in all other European countries, approximately 25, to promote regional businesses and support our brand development. We established our first factory in Europe, based in the Netherlands in 1997, to produce products that meet the local needs and to supply and serve the market in the region. Our second factory in Europe, located in Hungary, completed the first phase of the establishment just last year in June 2020. And our new distribution center in the Netherlands completed in September, right after 3 months, and started operation successively. So in the future, we'll continue to increase and upgrade the capacity in our Netherlands factory and continue our project in Hungary, phase 2 and phase 3. And combine the distribution center services to create a long-term operation base for short chain supply, local services, and market cultivation. During this pandemic period, I think all of us especially cherish a healthy environment and a healthy lifestyle. And as we all know, bicycles are one of the best solutions for environmental protection, energy saving, and provide a healthy lifestyle. We hope that the European government will give more attention, more than ever, to the bicycle industry, level up the industry's strategic positioning, and provide more strategic support and investment assistance to the bicycle industry. Not only a single individual company, but a larger scale and scope of the complete industry, provide stronger financial support to smaller companies to invest and establish the operations, support in R&D, innovation, brand development, and infrastructure, so to develop a complete industrial cluster. So above is my short sharing. Thank you for now.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and thank you to all 5 panelists from the Taiwanese side, and for the presentation of their company profiles, but also for their recommendations related to regulatory pathway, to faster approval way from the legal point of view. So I'm sure that in both sides, in Taiwan, but also in the European Union, the decision makers will take note of what your experience is. Now, I'd like to go to our 2 EU side panelists, Imec and Jan de Nul, and ask them something similar to answer. Would you please share your experience investing in Taiwan or cooperating with Taiwanese industry, and what are your also recommendations? Please, Mr. Peter Lemens from Imec.
Good, thank you everybody for your effort in joining this online forum. Imec is a leading innovation and research hub for semiconductor technology. And basically, we already have a fairly large office in Taiwan for already 15 years. Even before establishing an office in Taiwan 15 years ago, we had a long-standing relation with Taiwanese companies and also academic collaboration with the main universities. So I think being here for such a long time is a clear indicator of the level of comfort that we feel here in doing business in Taiwan. In terms of intellectual property protection, which is very important for it, but also for global partners. In terms also of the legal system, think about labor laws. In recent years, the Taiwanese lawmakers have stepped up efforts to further improve labor law regulations, make Taiwan also more inclusive for foreign talents and foreign investments. And of course also infrastructure. Our office is located in the middle of the electronics manufacturing industry in the Hsinchu Science Park. And a second clear sign or indicator why we feel comfortable here is that in fact 15 years ago our Taiwanese R&D center was the first R&D center of Imec established outside of Europe. Yeah. Imec is a Belgian company from the Flanders region, and the size of Belgium is quite comparable to the size of Taiwan. Yeah. Belgium is a small country, but we can be big as a small country if we focus on those things that we are good at. So that creates a fairly good common ground for regions in Europe to collaborate with Taiwan and the Taiwanese ecosystem. Unfortunately, after 15 years, it's still the case that not so many citizens in Taiwan or companies are very well familiar with Europe. And as Mr. Tsai correctly pointed out in his introduction, actually there's a lot of innovation happening in Europe. Lots of new developments, exciting startups, for example, many bright ideas. And all these research results, they need to be brought from the lab to the fab. That's why Taiwan is a very, very important supply chain partner for Imec. Yeah? In basic, we develop new technologies to make transistors smaller, and we design the next generation of electronic chips. Yeah? But we also help our partners and clients to develop and bring these new technologies really into products that end up in the shop or in the shelf. We work with a diverse amount of companies, semiconductor foundries, chip design companies, OSAT, chip packaging companies, but also branded product companies. It's a large variety. Taiwan is a very competitive market, but if you have good technology, if you excellent results, then actually it's fairly good to do business here. Yeah? In fact, when we talk about doing business here, that's not even our major objective. Yeah? Basically, by collaborating with the Taiwanese supply chain, we are actually able together to compete on the world market. Yeah? And it's not so extremely difficult to be #1 in Belgium. It's also not so extremely difficult to be #1 in Taiwan, but how to compete on the world stage. Yeah? And we at Imec believe already for 35 years that by establishing partnerships, by collaborating and exploiting the strength of each partners, that indeed we can collaborate on the world stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter Lemmens. Now, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Karl Heirmans from Jan de Nul Group.
Well, good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Maybe trying to explain a little bit what Jan de Nul does. Well, Jan de Nul is a marine contractor, as you said, playing worldwide. Marine contracting, what you have to understand, that will we help to build the ports of tomorrow, the access channels, and then you have to think like projects like building the new locks in Panama, building artificial islands in Dubai. Those are the bigger projects that we do in the world. And going now to Taiwan. Well, in Taiwan we are already busy since '95, where we started off with helping building some new ports in Taiwan. In the meantime, we have worked on projects like Kaohsiung Port, Linkou Port, Taipei Port. We have worked on the construction of a pipeline between on the west side of Taiwan in the sea. And then lately, let's say since last 3-4 years, we are very busy in being a pioneer, let's say, in the offshore wind in Asia, because offshore wind up to then was mainly an activity that was developed and built here in Europe and also a little bit in China. But for the rest of the world, it was still not actively done. And I have to say, Taiwan has been a pioneer in Asia by setting up a legislation and a framework where they at least had a path towards the development of offshore wind. And there, Jan de Nul has taken a prominent role by at least being involved in the first 3 major offshore wind farm projects. So since then, we have set up an office, another small office in Taiwan. For several reasons. Well, you cannot lead the whole thing from here with the vessels, specialist vessels that we have from here. Those kind of projects, they need quite a huge local support from a back office. You also need people with knowledge, which were not there yet, so we had to train them. So we set up an office in Taipei, and there are more than about 120 people now working there, mainly Taiwanese by now. They are supporting us, and also we need to set up a supply chain to build, because it's not only the vessels that you need to build those wind farms, but you also need to fabricate all the components like the foundations, the turbines themselves, and you need to build cables to connect the whole thing. And that's where, let's say, the challenges are the biggest maybe for Taiwan, and for us then also, that there is no supply chain, or there was no supply chain available 3 years ago when we started with the first project. So the first project was a wind farm, Formosa 1, that we built it completely in 2019, and it started operating. So that's the first offshore wind farm in Taiwan, on the 20 megawatts wind farm. And most of the supply of the main components came from Europe or other Asian countries, as it was not yet possible to source this in Taiwan. In the meantime, we have set up several collaborations. We had already a long-term collaboration with a company called Hua, who is also active in marine construction. And in the meantime, they have evolved. They are investing now in specialist vessels that will be specially active in the maintenance phase of those wind farms. And we believe these are the ideal packages that should be taken on by local companies. So we are helping them to go into this field, because for us, we needed to follow up what we are doing. Also, for the construction of the foundation, that is even more complicated. To set up local production, it's not so easy. It was also a long path in Europe to set this up at an industrial scale. There are opportunities and possibilities in Taiwan, but it's not so easy as people might think, that it goes immediately within a couple of years. Second project that we started up is Project Changhua pilot wind farm for TPC, and that's a little bit over halfway of construction. So all the foundations and cables are placed, and we just have to start up by the end of this month to install the last wind turbines of the project, and then it will also be activated. And the third wind farm that we already started with the construction, there we already seen an evolution that we have some local companies involved. So for the first time, we could find a local company to produce one of the components of the foundation, and I'm convinced that it will be the start for the future. So besides having companies like Honghua, who is going to start up into the maintenance phase of those wind farms, we also see now companies starting up local production of foundations. That means the huge steel foundation piles and structures that have to be built. So this is starting up in Taiwan, and we see this as a positive evolution, because it could be also the basis for exporting from Taiwan to the local Asian market, which is now coming up. So for us, this has been a success story, Taiwan. Based on our knowledge that we have built up in Europe, we could enter into the Taiwanese market. We formed, we can say, a first generation of people who have now the experience in building. I'm sure that they will continue with us in Taiwan or even outside of Taiwan, or they might even go to other companies involved into this field. But it's definitely a challenging and interesting story that we have seen in those years. Some maybe experiences that we have seen. So first of all, the local supply chain mismatch that there was in the beginning, but that's slowly on resolving. Port infrastructure, strangely enough, you could say that Taiwan has quite a lot of port infrastructure, but none of it was really suited or available even for these offshore wind farms. So they also have to invest in more port infrastructure, and that's also ongoing. As I said, we had to look for local tenants. We have worked together quite a lot with 3 universities to find the right people, helped with some scholarships also to stimulate people into this specialities of construction and engineering. And then we also participated quite a lot in the industry associations, as it is a new sector for Asia. And then you have to think like Taiwan is a very good leader in Asia. Next countries to follow will be Korea and Japan, for sure. But later on, we will see the same industry develop all over the APEC region. So we believe that collaborating with those associations like the Asia Wind Association, we are also together in the European Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan and the Taiwan Wind Energy Association. And then also we are talking at several events over there to stimulate even more the business to develop. And then it's actually they're following the European example of going toward more renewable energy from the sea. That was it from my side.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Mr. Heinemans. Taiwan has proven itself as a trustworthy partner and a rising destination for EU investments, developing especially in their ICT industries and digitalization, while delivering on their sustainability and green goals, are areas in which the EU and Taiwan can share and exchange best practices. With this, I would like to close, so to say, our first part on the discussion and go on the specific questions to our panelists. As you can see also in the comments in our chat, there are many questions. Even I would like to suggest that we can maybe or you can, each panelist can see also the questions and combine with the answer, because some of them are similar also to my question, which I would like to give now to Mr. Tsai about the semiconductor market. There will be a global shortage on automotive chips, and various American and European governments have gotten in touch with the Taiwanese government in order to increase semiconductor production. How could this situation benefit future Taiwan-EU cooperation in the semiconductor sector? Such a similar question, as I mentioned, are already in the chat from other participants, and the interest is indeed very big in this area. So, Mr. Tsai, President Tsai, please, but not more than 4 minutes if possible, because we have indeed a lot of questions.
Sure. I can just quickly answer one of the questions here. Actually, talk about the chip shortage. I think the car chip shortage to begin with. I think fundamental issue is the supply chain management from the car industry. They like to do the just in time. So if you talk about the overall car total volume, actually this is not significant increase in 2020. So the problem is not the total manufacturing capacity. It's more about the supply chain management. I believe Taiwan semiconductor industry, we do our best to move global citizen. Just like a COVID-19, Taiwan can help. Taiwan is helping. Most of the Taiwan semiconductor industry supply chain, actually, they try to rearrange their customer shipping. Just imagine, actually, mobile phone got much bigger, like a margin or the even bigger volume. But Taiwan semiconductor supply chain really want to support the EU or support or the EU country like Germany. So that's the quick answer to the question. So I believe this is just one example how Taiwan and the EU can work together. So on the other hand, I also want to share with you some of my other observation, how both sides in terms of supply chain can help each other. If you can see the screen from my side, of course, some basic information like we have very strong tie between Taiwan and the EU, both sides with a big investment of that. But I will more focus to talk about more in semiconductor segment. Take Taiwan semiconductor company or the high-tech company like a MediaTek is like a top, one of the leading top 5 fabless company. Taiwanese company is very strong in the mobile phone, the chip. So they have their R&D center in Finland in the 5G chips. And of course, like Advantech or the Foxconn or AUO, no matter they are in the ICT or the semiconductor contract manufacturing, even the flat panel, we have the good investment in Europe. I personally, I feel like in Taiwan and Europe, we share lots of the same challenge. nowadays for the U.S. Taiwan, U.S. China like trade war and also the technology competition, I feel like geopolitical tension actually is really accelerate the pace of the reshoring and the supply chain relocation, and the rise of the national protectionism will fuel the region's effort to set up their own manufacturing capability. So I feel like from both Taiwan and the EU, we should think about how we can be the partner continuous in terms of the innovation and the investment to fan out the competition. At the same time, I feel like talent is also a very important issue. So in different kind of perspective, Taiwan and EU, we can think about this is the common challenge. So I will bring on the table what is the opportunity from Taiwan and the EU collaboration in the semiconductor industry. Actually, by the accelerated collaboration and Peter mentioned about lots of the innovation, we can think about the collaboration in terms of the technology exchange or economic relationship, and create some incentive for the Taiwan player to invest in Europe to create a local industry cluster. So in summary, I will recommend in several perspectives. It's like how we build a long-standing relationship between Taiwan manufacturer and also plan ahead for the inventory practice to secure the supply line. And we also can think about leverage the US, the partnership with Taiwan, and we extend the collaboration between EU, Taiwan, and Europe to mutual investment, strategic alliances in a key industry, such as smart mobility, automotive, renewable energy, in a biotech or the medtech. I believe those areas can be from the application or from the equipment material supply side. Taiwan and EU should work together. In conclude, I want to re-emphasize that in the semiconductor industry, Taiwan is very important, but we want to be very reliable partner for the EU and the world. So with the Taiwan leading position in the high-end advanced manufacturing technology, total investment, and the very strong buying power for equipment material, we want to be a good friend with the EU in different areas, especially in the semiconductor industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, President Tsai, for your presentation. And now I would like to go to Mr. Johnson Lee, the chairman of the Taiwanese Precision Medical Industry Association, with a very concrete question on how could Taiwan and the EU jointly create potential opportunity for cooperation in the biotechnology and medical industry, especially now during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, for the fight against the pandemic, we have 3 companies that are working on our own vaccine, and 2 of them has gone into clinical trial phase 2. I think one of them are projecting to start production by the end of June. So that's what they have been busy. And there are also several companies are working on the diagnostic testing and diagnostic for COVID-19. And I know that just as of yesterday, 2 companies are getting big orders from overseas, like other countries. But I haven't seen really, we have submitted some of the samples, some of the assay for validation and testing in EU countries, but have not really been realized into a business yet. But I think it's forthcoming. Companies here are working on more rapid tests, not just on nucleic acid, but also on antibody and antigens testing. And also those will be very important for testing even after vaccination. And also a company are developing a high sensitivity testing that could be able to minimize the false negative that would help to curtail the propagation of the pandemic. So those are the current activity right now in terms of. Also, by the way, there are 2 companies that are working on therapeutic to treat pandemic patients, and also, as I mentioned, medical device company working on the respiratory facility equipment. But from there, I think we should continue to work together along the similar line into precision medicine area, which have a lot of similar technology and platform for molecular diagnostic and genomic testing area, including sequencing, PCR, and microarrays. So and also I think the medical device companies are very interested in further collaboration, leveraging Taiwan's ICT technology. So I think one way is to I led a delegation to visit several countries in EU 2 years ago, and it was very fruitful. And even and in each country we visited, including Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland, and Germany, we all have a one-on-one, industry to industry dialogues and get together, and that was very fruitful. So I hope that in the future we could do that again, but instead of visiting each other in person, we can do it online, and hopefully in the next 6 months also we could start traveling into EU and vice versa. So I think everything starts from discussion and meeting and into a more specific topics, and I think pandemic and precision medicine and medical device could be a very good topics to begin with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Indeed, this is an area which is of extremely high interest for cooperation in all the topics what you mentioned: vaccination, diagnostic, sequencing, treatment of COVID. This is a huge potential for both sides for win-win cooperation, and I'm looking forward to continue this cooperation between Taiwan and the European Union companies in this medical biotechnology field. Now I like to continue and give the floor for answering the specific question to Mr. Sharma, the president of Delta Electronics. Delta has invested in research and development and energy saving products for a long time and has actively engaged in the European market. Given that the European Commission has set the Green Deal as one of its most important policy goals, what business opportunity will this provide for Taiwanese companies? Mr. Sharma, please, for 4 minutes, not more.
Thank you. I will quickly go over this topic and probably share my screen with you to make it easier. The European Green Deal is a milestone on the way to achieve the climate goal of the Paris Agreement. Green Deal is all about investment and is not short of any ambition aiming to mobilize at least €1 trillion in sustainable investments over the next decade. It will focus on 4 key areas: sustainable infrastructure, which means energy transition to decarbonizing the energy grid, electrification, and energy efficiency. The second area is innovation. The third area, major area, is digitalization, which means 5G, data center, artificial intelligence, high-speed computing, etc. And then the fourth pillar would be small and medium-sized businesses and social investments and skills. The aim is to support small and large projects alike. So with the Green Deal, the European Commission unfolds a roadmap towards a circular economy without any harmful emissions by 2050. So this is the larger ambition behind. But if we were to take the message to our Taiwanese colleagues and industry colleagues, we are talking here about technology and innovation in environment-friendly technologies, also transportation, which is cleaner, cheaper, and healthier form of private and public transportation, energy in building, decarbonizing the energy sector. Buildings have to be more efficient. The heating systems have to be more efficient and electrical now in the going forward. And if I break down to business opportunity, then we are broadly talking about from Taiwan's interest point of view, digital economy. We all know Taiwan is very, very strong in ICT, electronics, and infrastructure. 15% of the total Green Deal fund is earmarked for improving EU's digital capability. And this, again, we're talking about 5G data centers, AI, high-speed computing. This is a big opportunity for Taiwanese companies to benefit from. And we all know that Taiwan is extremely good in ICT and semiconductors. So this is something that Taiwan as well as Europe, it's a win-win for both, and Taiwanese companies can benefit from this. At the same time, Europe benefits from Taiwan's experience. On the electrification and energy efficiency, this also has been energy efficient technologies has been Taiwan's strength for years now, and for innovation, needless to say, the world has already experienced the innovation power of Taiwanese companies and technology in several sectors. So I think the Green Deal provides an apt opportunity for Taiwanese companies in coming 10 years to leverage their experience and leverage their technologies into these markets and help achieve the goal set by the Green Deal and make this world and make Europe and the whole world a better place to live in the longer term. So this is, I think, something that should be considered as part of the business plan. So that's all from my side on this question. But I also noticed that I have a question in the private chat here that I will attempt to answer as well. This question is from Mr. Ching Wen Lin, and his question is: the EU's promotion of the Green Deal comes at the expense of increased cost. Has Delta Electronics considered cooperation with the European companies to overcome the challenge of increased cost? I think from the structure of the whole deal, the funding will be coming from European Union, the member states, and also private sector participation. And from the business point of view, I don't see any major cost here, except for, of course, we need to improve our technology to deliver whatever is expected. We do cooperate with the European companies from time to time. We have active cooperations in Europe in technology area with few companies. We also have a big community of channel partners, system integration partners that we've leveraged from time to time, depending on the nature of the project, the scope of the project, and also the area of the project. So, of course, we look forward to cooperating with other European companies to benefit from the given opportunity. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sharma, and thank you that you incorporate also some questions from the audience. Now I would like to have Mr. Lin's answering a question related to the Fair Friend Group. Fair Friend Group has participated in the Horizon 2020 EU-Taiwan collaboration CLEAR 5G project and cooperated with 5 companies and 5 countries, and 7 industries to build the so-called first factories of the future in Asia. How can Taiwan precision machinery sector make use of its strength to expand into the European market? Mr. Lin, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. We joined this project 4 years ago, and we think cooperate with the European company or European entities can make us stronger and make the solution much better in this project, this project name is the Korea 5G. In fact, it uses 5G technologies in the traditional factories. And the Horizon 2020 project should form in the European country. So there are 7 entities in 5 countries. In the Taiwan side, FFG with the AD-Link, III, and National Taiwan University, we form a team to using those 5G technologies in our FFG factories. And last year, in September, we have the final review. We just share our architecture and try to find out when the 5G technologies in the traditional factory, what can we get much for more efficiency? Like we can using the 5G to communication with the equipment, with the machine, with the robot, and connect with the AGV side. This is a technical topic, but in our point of view, sometimes new technology can change the traditional way and find out what is the new ideas to face the future. Like in this example, we try to find out the augmented reality glasses. After this COVID-19, remote guidance is a very important thing. But fortunately, in 4 years ago, we tried to establish this kind of technology. So our expert can in the office help the operator in the field side to solve their local side problem. So 5G technology sometimes can change a lot of things, but sometimes it is balanced because traditional networking maybe is useful, but for the AGV, the mobility equipment, you're using the wireless solution to make the communication more easier. So after that, we can establish our architecture like the digital manufacturing or the data services architecture. In the traditional, we establish smart machine and we provide the smart production line. In the factory side, we should establish the data service platform or the AI machine learning engine to provide the data services solutions. So, but we have the technical issue, but in the global resource integration platform, or we can call the supply chain ideas, this is not only about the technical, but also about the business. So in the technical architecture, this is much easier for using the IPC or ICT technology. But in the other side, we're thinking the business platform, FFG have 95 companies. This is very important energy, and we have a lot of vendor or partner for the component or for the ICT companies. We can join together to, and of course, in this project or in other projects, we cooperate with a lot of research institute or the academic or school or larger companies to provide the turnkey solution for our customer. So we're thinking one-stop shopping services using the European high-end technology, Taiwan optimization capability, and Asia market using FFG internal synergies to support, to provide the solutions. So in the women's strategy, like the OEM, ODM project, because now we have the project with OEM, ODM, our European company's brand, and manufacturing the machine in Taiwan, but using our European brand, we can make cost efficiency and make the benefit much more benefit for our European brand. And the technical, like the key parts, Europeans have a lot of high-end technology, high-end key parts. We try to translate this technology in Taiwan and implement our machine tool industry, not only for FFG use only, but also for the Taiwan other machine tool companies. So we try to enlarge this business and help to provide more efficiency or more advantage equipment. And we think internal synergy is still working. And for the machine tools, from the traditional machine tool to the CNC, smart factory, or the factory of the future, we find not only provide the hardware, but also provide the software is much more important. Not only to provide a smarter machine, including you want to do some predict or remote diagnosis, predict maintenance, or preventive something. So data service is much more important. So we need to using the ICT technology, log and check everything. And we can using the machine learning or AI technology to do some predictions. So we think in the future for the machinery, we think technology transfer from the European to Taiwan, we can help this industry to upgrade. And the other one, we can see FFG 95 company as a channel, marketing channel. We try to rearrange our channels to help Taiwan's brand, European brand to enlarge Asia or even the worldwide market. We can leverage our sales energy, our marketing energy to help all them together. And the third part is about using the key component. Our European company have a lot of special and very powerful key components. Using those kind of technology to produce in Taiwan can change Taiwan's industry and help those companies in Europe because they can earn more money. And the last one, I think smart manufacturing is the consulting services. And of course, our customer now is not only like the one machine, but also like the turnkey solution. So using our experience from the European and Taiwan's ICT energy, we can join together to provide much more performing product. This is our point of view. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for your comments. Now we are coming to the bicycles, to Giant, and I would like to ask Jeffrey, what's Giant's business strategy in Europe? And would you please share the key elements for Giant's success in Europe? You already started before with some elements, but I think this is extremely also important when we like to stay healthy and to also reduce the CO2 in the atmosphere, to invest more in this area. Jeffrey, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So we have always been guided by creating and satisfying the needs of our consumers and our bicycle dealers. So actually being close to the market and provide close services has naturally become one of our core strategies, which has driven and enabled us to set up companies in major markets, build sales and service channels, and establish factories and distribution centers in Europe. So being close to the market, understanding the consumers, provide products and services that fulfill the local demands and conditions. This is the basic elements, and we will continue to invest and develop based on this direction. And Giant has always attached great importance to our long-term partners in the supply chain. For example, in 2002, if I remember correctly, we took the lead to establish the Industrial Alliance. We called it A-Team in Taiwan, together with the leading peers within our supply chain. The team is committed to transformation and upgrading, getting rid of red ocean competition with new entrants, such as our competitors from China, from Southeast Asia. And we successfully rooted the bicycle industry in Taiwan, transform Taiwan becomes the center of premium bicycle innovation, research and development, and manufacturing with advanced technology. At the same time, we also promoted Taiwan to become a bicycle island with a really amazing riding environment and atmosphere. And also we have been investing, continue to invest and rooting in Europe for many years. We are one of the important leading brands in the business, and we have an extensive sales channels. And now we have 2 factories and 2 new distribution centers in Europe. We look forward to extending our industrial clusters experience and strengths, and our strengths to Europe through the bilateral economic and trade cooperations and investment promotion. We are actually far away to be real success if we continue to rely on lots of supplies from far distant, from Far East. Short chain supply is one of the major strategies to ensure our long-term success. So we look forward to develop the next stage of a more complete industrial value chain in Europe. So that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and I'm sure you will have a lot of success. Currently, maybe you know that in Belgium was a shortage of bikes, especially during the lockdown. Many people are looking how they can find a bike, and a good bike like a giant one is very welcome. Thanks a lot, and now I'm going to Mr. Lemons. With the specific question to Imec. Imec engaged in a wide range of investments in Taiwan, including in the fields of semiconductors, smart devices, cutting edge, medical and smart healthcare, etc. From your perspective, what advantage does Taiwan have, and why can Taiwan attract European investors? What is the biggest gain for Imec in your cooperation with Taiwan? Thank you.
Okay, I hope you can understand me clearly. Basically for Taiwan, or for Imec actually, Taiwan and its ecosystem, manufacturing ecosystem, is really the most important aspect of why we are here. Of course, in first instance, the semiconductor supply chain and the manufacturing partners, but with extension, actually we collaborate with the complete ecosystem in Taiwan. Yeah? As everybody knows, the very high volume manufacturing has somehow disappeared in the past decades out of Taiwan. But I think the big achievement that has happened is that Taiwan was able to contain and keep a complete ecosystem. That's very unique. It's very important also for us. Of course, there are other countries that have certain aspects of ecosystems and supply chains, but in Taiwan, it's very complete on a very small surface, the size of Belgium. And when I talk about complete, think about precision mechanics, think about photonics industry, electronic chip design, medical device manufacturing, etc. It's all here. And that's very important if you want to bring innovation from the lab to the fab in a very quick way. Yeah? So speed is of importance, trying out new ideas for innovation, trying to scale up innovative technology. That I think is happening very easily by collaborating with the Taiwanese ecosystem. Yeah? Of course, quality is of importance and well-trained staff, which we can find abundantly in Taiwan. Yeah? As I mentioned earlier on today, I think also the well-organized legal environment and communities and the partnerships, I think that is very much on par what we know from European standards. And that is important for many of our global clients which care about social responsibility, care about sustainability. Yeah? And so I would say ecosystem, quality, speed of implementing innovation, these are the key points of our collaboration with Taiwan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lemans. Now, last but not least, my question to Karl Hermans from Jan de Nul. What role can Taiwan play in the marine construction supply chain for the European-led global offshore wind power sector? How could Taiwan cooperate with European countries to participate in other Asian countries' offshore wind power engineering projects? Can you please give us some details on this? Thank you.
Okay, you will. My colleague Peter Lemmens already, I think, mentioned it twice. He compares a lot Taiwan with Belgium, and I also have done this in the past in this field of offshore wind development. You could also ask the question, how is it possible that a country like Belgium became an important player in offshore wind within Europe? If you look to it back 20 years ago, offshore wind was almost non-existing, mainly coming from Denmark in very small things. But how is it possible that Belgium became an important player and is now one of the leading countries maybe in exporting this technology outside of Europe? And I believe that's if you answer that, you also have the answer, what can Taiwan be for Asia? So what happened is that in Belgium we had a couple of players that were looking at what they're good at. So marine contracting, we had several companies who are really specialized world players. One of this is our company, and they have invested into this technology. We have learned from it, made mistakes, but advanced. And I think that's an example that you have to take. So Taiwan is now a leading country in Asia in developing offshore wind. They have set the first steps. It will create opportunities internally for local companies, and I believe it's up to the local companies then to first of all partner up, I believe, with experienced European parties, just to avoid that you have to do the same path of mistakes, avoid the mistakes that were done, let's say, in the past in Europe. Try to team up with European companies, and then you will have a basis to export in the region and be an important player. Now, be aware that by now this offshore wind supply chain has become very competitive. And when I say very competitive, it's hard, especially if you look at the big opportunities that there are in local production, like for foundations that have to be built. These are huge steel structures that have to be fabricated. And you can imagine there are some countries in the region which are very competitive into this. So if you want to go into that and be a player in the region, you not only have to be good, but also price-wise very competitive and be able to beat the neighbors. So it's not an easy race, but definitely as Taiwan is now, let's say, at least 5 years ahead of countries like Japan and Korea, they should get some advantage out of this, the knowledge that they build up. So they could become an important player, being it from engineering, fabrication, installation, maintenance of those wind farms. So there are enough opportunities, and to win that, so as I said, look how and where you can be competitive and team up with an experienced European player. And then I think that's a win-win for both. So the Europeans alone in Asia, it's also not so easy. So we also try to work together with local companies. And for each country, we sometimes have to change our strategy, but it's the way forward for everybody. That's how I see it, at least.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Mr. Heirmans. And as we see from the last both answers of Mr. Lehmans and yours, that Taiwan has a lot of to offer in the semiconductor supply chain possibilities, but also in the offshore wind supply chain, where also Taiwan is leading ahead, as you said, maybe 5 years before. In front of Japan. Herewith, we can close this specific questions part of our today's meeting. And before we start with a few of the questions coming by the audience, and here in our comment chat, you can see I have the pleasure or request from one of my good colleagues, Mrs. Charlie Weimers, who is the rapporteur or the future rapporteur on EU-Taiwan relations report in the Foreign Affairs Committee. As you maybe know, recently the European Parliament decided on two reports, two recommendations of the European Parliament to the European External Action Service will be put forward. They are intended to address our relations with the People's Republic of China and Taiwan, respectively. So now the message from my colleague, MEP Charlie Weimers. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a rapporteur for the recommendations on Taiwan, it is my intention to build on this existing Taiwan policy of the European Parliament. This includes favoring a strong and independent trade relations, as well as strengthening cooperation in areas such as health, education, research and innovation. I invite you to reach out to my office if you would like to establish a dialogue or provide insights based upon your expertise. The recommendations is due to be tabled in mid-May this year. Finally, I wish you great success in furthering EU-Taiwan business relations. Yours sincerely, Charlie Weimers, member of European Parliament from Sweden and member of the Foreign Affairs Committee from the ECR group. So that was from the message from my colleague. And now we go indeed to the Q&A session. We have around 10 minutes for answering these questions. I will pick up simply a few of them, or one which is specific to President Tsai. This question is from Eleni Huang. President Tsai, we thank you for your suggestions. In the future, it will also be possible to establish a semiconductor alliance to promote the development of the semiconductor industry in Europe. I would like to know if you have any suggestion for the EU. President Tsai, maybe you can say some words about an answer to Eleni Huang.
Sure. To be honest, it is very challenging at this moment to rebuild the so-called manufacturing site. It will cost too much. So it is not easy for any region you want to rebuild the manufacturing cluster. So my recommendation for Europe, how to collaborate with the Taiwan semiconductor industry is weaken from the so-called application or the end product side. It's Taiwan manufacturers' customer, so that we can join some R&D joint research to begin with, and at the same time, my presentation in the earlier slide, Europe is still very strong in some areas such as equipment, material. Taiwan is very strong in the semiconductor manufacturing, but we still need lots of the help in terms of the precision engineering or equipment or advanced material. They will also play a very important role in the next generation semiconductor manufacturing. So Taiwan definitely can make the joint effort with the EU, become the alliances in some Europe strengths in that specific area, so that Europe still have a seat on the table for the global semiconductor supply chain. So that will be my recommendation for both EU and the Taiwan in terms of the semiconductor supply chain collaboration. Yeah.
Thank you very much, President Tsai. We have maybe time for one more question, and I see also some questions from colleagues of mine. Herman Terch, he is from Spain. Which are your most common difficulties as Taiwanese businessmen in Europe? I think we touch upon in the debate some aspects of this question, but if somebody from you would like to mention some explicit difficulties in dealing with EU, it's now possible to answer, and maybe combine also with the question of Eric VDH from the Flemish Department of Foreign Affairs. Perhaps to flip the question, what are national and what can national and regional administration in the EU do more to make more investing easier or more attractive for Taiwanese companies. So they are somehow related difficulties, but what we can do more in Europe on regional and national level, but also on European level to attract the Taiwanese companies. This was questions from the chat. Maybe very short. We already talk about this. Please, Mr. Lee. Please unmute. Please unmute. Unmute.
Yeah, I'd just like to take this opportunity to reiterate that discussion and meeting each other is very important, especially in life sciences, because the value chain and supply chain are very long and also very delicate, and it really needs a lot of meetings and seminars and discussions. And one opportunity is that we organize in Taiwan every year around July a BioAsia Taiwan activity, which is a collaboration with a global bio organization. And within a few days, this year will be in July 21st week. And within that week, we have conference, exhibitions, one-on-one partnering, company presentations. So it would be a very good opportunity for European entities that are interested in knowing who could be a potential collaborator in Taiwan, and also to let Taiwanese and also Asian biotech companies to know European companies and pharmaceutical companies to collaborate. So that would be a very good opportunity. If you go online to check the BioAsia Taiwan, and it's a very well attended conference exhibition. Last year we had 1,500 people, or in 2019. In 2020 we have a combination of online and on-site, which again drew 1,400 people attending the conference throughout the week. So that was a very well attended occasion for improving our communication and collaboration. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. And there's a lot of other questions, I assume, and I would like to thank you for the audience for being so active, and hopefully we could answer many of these questions and be of help for both sides. The EU is promoting the European Green Deal and digital transformation, as well as strengthening its coordination capabilities in public health and crisis management, which are some of Taiwan's strengths. In light of the current COVID-19 pandemic and economic changes, seeking and establishing reliable partnership has become part of the global strategy thinking for governments around the world. Taiwan and the EU can deepen their partnership, which will bring benefits for both sides. I would like to thank you, all of you, today's participants, but also the people who watched on YouTube, on Facebook, and on other social media channel for your interest. I would like to thank to the co-organizer of this event, also to the representative office of Taiwan in the EU and Belgium, and hope we can continue in such a similar format to exchange view between Taiwan and European Union, businesses, policymakers in favor of the people of the European Union and Taiwan, but also in favor of all people now in the world which are suffering of this pandemic situation. Again, also from my side, thank you very much. You have friends in the European Parliament, and I think together we can be more strong, safe, and bring more prosperity to our people. From my side, have a good afternoon, evening, a good night to the world. Thank you again for being together with us on this day. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you.